Hey guys, this is Nick from ForexNoobs.com with some midday analysis. Today is Thursday, the 28th of July 2016, and the time is 12:05 here in the UK. You're looking at a USDCHF 16-hour chart. I know that's a weird time frame, but bear with me. And in today's analysis, we're going to be going through most of the pairs on this list to the right here. And we're going to be looking at most of the time frames for these pairs. The reason I do this is because I'm scanning for price action setups. I look at each pair, each time frame, and I get an idea of what price is doing, and I look for price action setups. I do not trade all of these time frames. So for example, I trade the 3-hour, 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour, 12-hour, and daily. But these other time frames here, the 9-hour, 10, 11, 5, 7, those are just there for analysis purposes. I use them to kind of gauge what price is doing, but I don't actually take trades from those time frames. So anyway, let's get started with today's analysis. Also, there's a webinar on Saturday, a big webinar on Saturday for support resistance areas, these blue shaded areas you have here. There's a link to it below this video on YouTube or on my blog. So do sign up for the webinar if you want to attend on Saturday, or if you want the recording. Anyway, let's get on with this analysis. So why am I on the 16-hour? I always forget to close Steam. Why am I on the 16-hour time frame? Well, recently in the recent advanced course webinar, now I'm referencing a webinar that was for advanced course members, so not everyone has access to this, but to the people here in this room right now, listening to this analysis live, I think it was last week or the week before, we done a webinar on kind of joining candles together in your head to kind of gauge what price is doing in a certain area. So yesterday we looked at this USDCHF setup. It was a potential trade setup on USDCHF, and I was saying that I might enter a short here. Now, on all the time frames we would normally trade, this setup didn't actually look like a decent setup. We didn't get that strong indecision candle. We didn't get like a strong sign, a strong price action signal to enter the trade. But what we were talking about a few weeks ago, or actually I think it was last week, what we were talking about last week was kind of looking beyond the shape of the candles and trying to understand what price is actually doing in an area. So looking beyond just the shape of this candle, or looking beyond the shape of the 8-hour candles or the 6-hour candles, and trying to understand what price is doing here. If you look at the 6-hour chart, it's clear that we have indecision here. Very, very clear. If you look at the 8-hour chart, it's clear that we have indecision here. We're just not getting that indecision candle shape that we're used to. But that doesn't mean that it's not happening, because when you go over to the 16-hour chart, then you get that kind of pattern that you're used to seeing and that you're used to trading. So it's just about looking at it through the right time frame. Now, trying to find the right time frame every time, going to a 16-hour chart or going to a 17-hour chart just to get the right time, to get the right pattern, is not always going to work. It just doesn't make sense. So you have to learn to combine them visually in your head, which is what we discussed in that webinar. So this was a perfect example, and that's why we started doing these live analysis sessions, so I could show you guys these examples. And I was hoping we would get one this week, and this actually ended up being a very, very perfect example. We looked at this potential trade. We said that it was potentially a viable setup, but it never ended up turning into an actual trade on any of the time frames that we usually monitor. But if you combined the 8-hour candles in your head, if you looked at these two candles and you kind of like stuck them together in your head, then the body of this candle, right, the body of this candle would minus out the body of that candle, and that would just turn into a wick. And then you would have a candle kind of like that, with the wick coming down to there, the wick coming up to here, and that's what the candle would look like. You could just do that in your head. It's easy to do. And when you go over to the 16, that's exactly what it looks like, because it's just two candles combined together. The bodies minus each other out. The body of the first candle becomes the wick of the second candle, And there you go. That's what the candle ends up looking like. And that looks like a good setup, and it was a good setup. It was a tradable setup. It would have resulted in a trade. I personally didn't take this trade. I missed it. I ended up getting busy, so I didn't take the trade. But I know a few of you did. So good work on that trade. Good work on combining those candles together and understanding what price was doing in that area, as opposed to relying just on a pattern. Good work with that. Anyway, so yeah, let's kind of get on with the analysis, because we've already spent 5 minutes just looking at yesterday's setup. What's going on USDCHF? A bit pointless going through because the reversal is still in progress if you're still in it, but there's no current setup that we could enter. So let's look at USDJPY, work our way down. Nothing. AUD New Zealand. Yeah, nothing really happening here either. It's already pushing away from this support area, so if there was a reversal here, it's too late for it. That's a 9-hour chart. Yeah, okay. There's a reversal in progress on AUD New Zealand, but it's a bit late to enter. It's already shot up. I didn't, oh damn it, I got the wrong one. I did not do my, sorry. I did not do my analysis this morning. I usually do analysis as soon as I wake up, but this is my first time properly looking at the charts today. Yeah, this has potential to be a good trade setup, but it's too late because, you know, it's already triggered, but had you entered this at the right time, this has a lot of potential. It's clearly indecision on top of support, and it's pushing up. So yeah, it's a bit late though, so we can't really do much about it. Let's look at AUD USD. Anyone take that AUD New Zealand trade, by the way? Simon is asking, is it worth a retrace? Nah, it's moved up a bit too far. We'll go back to it in a second. There's nothing forming on Euro AUD. We'll go back to it. We'll go back to it now. With retrace entries, you know, I prefer it only move up a little bit, but this one's already moved up like a decent amount. It's up 25 pips roughly. If it retraces right now, I'd be worried about entering that trade, because that's a sign that sellers are kind of getting weak. It doesn't mean necessarily that the trade's not going to work out. I mean, if I was already in the position and it retraced 25 pips, I'd still be in the trade. But, you know, there's a kind of difference between you're already in the trade and it retraces to it retraces so you're going to get into the trade. Because I want to get into a trade at the point when buyers are the strongest. And when they're retracing, that starts to tell me they're not at their strongest. So, you know, that's kind of the time I no longer want to jump in the trade. You know, if it pushed up 5, 6, 7 pips and then it fell back down, you know, that kind of like a little minor retrace, yeah, that I don't mind. I'd jump in. But if it's going to retrace 25, 30 pips, you know, it's a bit, for me personally, I just don't find it to be the safest time to enter the trade. Did we look at Euro GBP? No, even if we didn't, there's nothing forming there. So let's zoom in a little bit. It's a bit zoomed out. Nothing really going on here on Euro JPY. Euro New Zealand. Let's see what's happening here. Nothing. Euro USD is reversing from from resistance, but it looks like that was a very quick reversal, so it doesn't look like there was any actual opportunity to enter this trade on any of the higher time frames anyway. Probably, yeah, it looks like there would have been opportunity on that 1 hour, but I don't really trade the 1 hour these days, so oh well. GBP, CHF. Yeah, nothing much going on here. Sorry guys, a bit boring analysis today. The last 2 days I guess were okay. Yesterday's analysis was a little boring, but it still resulted in an okay trade, I guess, for whoever ended up taking it. Tuesday's analysis was awesome. That USDJPY trade was just a great setup. GBP New Zealand is not a pair I actually trade. GBP USD is in between two support resistance areas, so we're not actually going to get any setups here. Just ranging between those two support resistance areas. New Zealand JPY. It's already in a reversal setup, so it's a bit late for this one. Doesn't look like it's going that well. New Zealand USD, that's already in a reversal setup. Oh man, I should have done the analysis at like 8 AM. It's like we missed all these setups. You're short on New Zealand USD? Was that posted to the forum? I vaguely remember seeing a New Zealand USD trade on the forum. Oh yeah, I bet the 6 hour was posted to the forum. Look at that. That's an awesome setup. Quickly check the forum. It was you that posted it. Yeah, I see your post. So your entry was 7091. Let's take a quick look at how you entered this trade. I'll critique your entry, and I'm just going to copy and paste it from the forum. Give us a nice visual on your setup. All right, so you got a 1.5 risk to reward ratio. You do say that in the forum. Your entry, I don't know, personally for me it's a tad late, but did you enter late on purpose, or was it more of a, you noticed it a bit late? I mean, it's not that bad an entry. It's just I probably would have like got in a touch higher. You want it to be sure sellers were in control. It's not a bad thing at all. It's just you always have that kind of situation where, you know, when you enter a trade, you want to make sure, if it's a short trade, sellers take control of price. You need to make sure. But in making sure, sometimes your entry gets too far away, which means your stop loss is too big, which means your target is too far away. Overall, visually, just looking at the price action here, with this setup, you have a decent balance. Your stop isn't that far away. You've got a 1.5 risk to reward ratio, which sits kind of like at this kind of area where price struggles. You know, we got price struggling on its way down, and we got price struggling on its way up. So your 1.5 is kind of sitting nicely in this area where price struggles. So it won't be that hard for sellers to hit your target, theoretically. So yeah, you've got a nice balance. I probably personally would have entered a tad earlier. Something more like this is probably what I would have went for. It would have given me a 1.8 risk to reward ratio. I could have probably pushed that down to 2. Yeah, kinda. But it's kind of getting towards the outer edge. But it's still fine because it's still within that rough kind of area where price is stalling. But it doesn't matter. Your entry is fine. Your risk to reward ratio is still acceptable, 1.5. If that's within your trading plan, it's all good. You don't necessarily have to try for a tighter entry. Just do what you're comfortable with. The problem with tighter entries, like I was saying, is your entry kind of has it shows us that sellers have taken control of price. My entry would have been around about here, and it would have also been a sign that sellers are taking control of price because they broke the low of the previous candle and they moved down a little bit further from that. But at the same time, there's more of a chance that price is going to hit that level and then push back up, whereas yours is kind of more of a sign that sellers have taken control of price. So you don't necessarily have to change the way you do it just because I would have done it differently. You might just have a safer approach, and that is fine too. It doesn't matter that much in the end. What matters is what you're comfortable with. Your trade is fine, and it's a decent setup. Hopefully it works out for you, man. And I'm a bit annoyed that I missed it. I haven't really looked at my charts properly this morning. Anyway, let's look at USDCAD. USDCAD is kind of like in the middle of a continuation, it looks like. Yeah, sorry. Today's analysis should have been 4 to 6 hours ago. We would have seen a lot more setups. Right now, all the setups have already triggered. So, what can you do? We're kind of like in the middle of a potential continuation. I'm not saying this is an enterable trade. It's just it's potentially going to do something like that. So keep a close eye on this. If you're someone that trades continuations, or if you're looking to go long on USDCAD, we are sitting on top of a strong support area. Price has broken through this area when it was resistance. Price broke through it, and now it's come back to it, and it looks like it's pushing away. So if you're looking to go long on USDCAD, I'm not saying to go long on USDCAD. I'm just saying if you are looking to go long, if that's your plan, then it does look like you do have that support area backing you up. That's what I'm saying. So USDJPY. Interesting. Interesting. Indecision. It's a bit above the support area, but yeah, it's nothing we could really trade. It's too far above the support area. It looks like, if this candle closes as indecision, then it might end up reversing, but it's too far away from that support area. Support areas, this shaded area around my line of support doesn't really mean that support actually ends here. It could be this wide, the support area, but this is definitely to the top side of the support. So, I'd want to put my stop loss somewhere down here, and that would mean that my stop loss is going to be way wider than I could potentially, than my potential target, which would have to be, somewhere up here. So the risk to reward ratio just wouldn't make sense on this one. Because I'd have to have a stop like roughly there. My target, I'd want it to be, ooh, actually, no, that is still 1.6. And let's, no, I adjusted my entry to a more accurate entry, and I mean, it's barely 1.5, but that would be inside this resistance area. It's not worth it. I'm going to keep an eye on USDJPY, see what it does throughout the day. But yeah, I wouldn't really be considering this specific candle if it closes exactly as it is now. I wouldn't really be considering a tradable indecision candle. Yeah, guys, there's really not much happening today. Anything that has happened today happened several hours ago, so this analysis is a bit on the late side, but what can you do? That's just how it is sometimes. For the 6 hours you don't check your charts, that's when all the action happens, and you come back and you're like, hey, what happened? I was asleep, and then when I woke up I was too lazy to check my charts because I was doing other stuff, and now I missed all the good trades for today, which is basically what happened to me today. But it does not matter. I'm happy with my trades this week. I broke my losing streak, so I'm all good. And tomorrow is Friday. Recently Friday, for the last, I'd say 6 to 9 months, Friday has been a genuinely good trading day for me. So we might get some good action on Friday, and also possibly later tonight. We might see something forming. Yeah, but other than that, guys, I think I'm going to call an end to this analysis. I wish I had more exciting news, but I don't. So I'll try to update my analysis on the blog if I see anything, when I next look at my charts in a few hours. But if not, then I'll see you guys at tomorrow's analysis.